Good afternoon or good evening, and thank you. I mean, it's really difficult, isn't it, to be the third speaker, particularly after two wonderful speakers, and then to talk about rectangles. And in a city, an urban city, I mean, it's just a total contrast. But you know what? A few weeks ago, literally a few weeks ago, when I was told about this conference and this presentation, I was told that it had to be about architects and not architecture. And I thought, like, what? How can that even be, you know? How is that even possible to talk about our lives? Particularly for me, I've led these big projects, mega projects, where every minute of my time has been only for the projects. And they are complex. You get, you're mentally and emotionally invested in these buildings. And how do you separate yourself and call yourself an architect without your architecture? Also, for architects, it's a great pleasure to show these amazing slides, especially of our big projects. People don't even pay attention to what you're saying anyway. They just look at the beautiful pictures and enjoy them. But today, I thought this would be an opportunity to talk about not really the buildings, but like kind of some of behind the scenes thing, and also talk without too many slides. So I thought that, let me just try it out. And I want to start with talking about architecture and buildings. And when I was thinking about what to prepare for this conference and for this presentation, I thought to myself, really, what is architecture about, and what are we and who is it meant for? And I'm going to tell you a little story about during the grand opening of Marina Bay Sands. A group of us had moved from Boston to Singapore to continue working on Marina Bay Sands, and to talk about and to work on the project before sort of it opened. We had spent 4 years of really working day and night diligently, trying to keep up with the pace of the project. That project was built in 4 years, total design and construction. It was crazy. It was really, really crazy. And at that time, we were like so much into the project. It was our building, and we had to prove it and all this stuff. And we were eagerly waiting for the grand opening to prove to the whole world and see their expressions, like when they entered the building. The day arrived, we were all dressed up. We were standing in the hotel on the way closer to the casino side, over there, watching people coming. People were coming in, and we were watching their expressions of awe. And every time we saw them, we were very excited ourselves, right? Because we were so proud of our project. The ceremonial gong rang, announcing the opening of the project. All of a sudden, hundreds of people pushed us aside and ran into the casino. And it was not our building anymore. It was not even about us, not about our building, not about us. It was all about these people who were going to be the users of the building and enjoying the building. That was such an important lesson for me, that our role is really minuscule and nobody cares. And it's all about the people who are going to use the spaces. So projects like these can really define your career as an architect, but it's not necessarily, doesn't define your life or doesn't even shape your life. It's really the people you encounter during this whole journey that really define who you are and what you do. And for me personally, for my life, it really started at a very, very young age. I grew up in a small city in India. I should just say a town, actually, not even a city, in India. And my grandfather was my hero. I was his first grandchild. So you can imagine I had a very, very special place in his world. And he made sure that I knew about it. He would tell me every now and then, he would tell me, I'm very special, and there's nothing in this world that can ever take that away from you. I didn't really grasp the meaning of those words at that age, but, I believed it. And that belief really instilled in me a sense of self-worth. Independent of what's going on or whatever external matters, I didn't even need any validation, sort of thing. And that sort of really stayed with me and has stayed with me throughout my life. And that's how it's always been. I was the oldest of 4 daughters, and my parents were really shaped the way our mindset, basically by saying, you know what, Your gender has no limitations. There's nothing you cannot do. My father was like constantly telling us, diligent, working hard, working honestly, that's all you need to do. There's nothing you could not do in this world. And I think, this sort of, as a child, built so much of confidence in me, almost making us fearless, making me and my sisters very bold about it. And I think that has had an impact on the way I have made decisions in my life, the way I made steps from moving from, at a young age, moving from India to America, from America to Singapore, and leading these big projects. Soon after my high school, I went and did an internship in an architect's office. Fortunately for me, that was the same firm who had designed our home. And because, of course, I had no experience, and I think that the architect was my father's friend, so okay, I got a job over there for a summer. But they gave me a job in the supplies department, where they told me to organize the architectural supplies, magazines, and everything. I loved the job. The colored pencils, the pens, the material samples, the swatches, the colorful swatches, glass pieces. I mean, it's incredible. The little models around the office, they were intriguing. That was my introduction to architecture. And since then, ever since then, I am still fascinated by that. I go to stores and I buy pens and pencils that I will never use. Every trip I make to Boston, to our office in Boston, they have a huge samples library. I bring samples over here, which I'm never going to use. I mean, I have a collection of weird glass pieces, just things that I would never ever use. But I still need them. They're like my comfort things, That's like, it's materialistic, but different way. After architecture, after that internship, I went to an undergrad school, and I loved what I did, but it was very challenging. It was challenging for the reason, and I think it's true for all schools around the world, I know for sure, it was challenging for the reason that the way students are assessed, because you have to defend your ideas in front of a jury. That just put the students in that just challenges everything, because you have to justify every single thought. You have to justify every single move to a jury instead of having a collaborative discussion. And I thought then, and I still think, as I work with students and young architects, about how insecure that makes you. Because as a student, you've been made to believe you're a sole creator of this design. You own this design, which is not true in the real world. The incident at Marina Bay Sands shows that all. You are made to believe that this is how you should be working, which is totally contrast to collaboration outside. And I think that was sort of a dilemma I always had, even in school. So I challenged everybody. So it was like, I was not the most popular person among professors and teachers, of course, because instead of they were trying to judge me, I was trying to judge them, sort of thing. So it was sort of very challenging, I think, for them too, because they didn't know how to handle me, and I didn't know how to handle the whole process. After that, I consider myself the luckiest person on this earth, because I have met just so many wonderful people in my life. And these are the peoples that have defined me and made me right from my childhood. I met Charu Kokate just when I was out of school. He's a very famous architect in India, but he's renowned for his buildings that really enhance and build communities. And Charu was someone that I believed in whatever he said. As I was leaving for US to further my studies, he said to me, remember, life is a journey, and it's the people who you meet and the people who you allow to come to your life will make your life interesting, the journey interesting. And he believed what he preached, because he believed architecture was not just about the buildings. It was about the people. It was about their needs. It was about their ambitions. And you had to cater for all of those things. And he believed his colleagues were, his employees were his colleagues that he could learn from. I remember him telling me this, and this happened almost 30 years ago. He told me, I want my employees to get off at a better station than once they got in, when they joined the company. And that has stayed with me forever. I mean, I have, since then I have progressed in life and worked with teams and everything, and this has really stuck with me. which was about, architecture is such a complex process. It's not a simple, small thing. It's not about what you think. What I thought was architecture when I finished school, that I could create these amazing buildings. I was an ambitious person. I could create this, I could create that, but it's not true because the process is not simple. It's such a cobweb of, when you look at a project, it's like so many people over there, they want this and that, different people, different stakeholders. Everybody has conflicting views. Everybody wants something else. They're all looking after their needs. So what does it take? You have to be a good designer, sure. But it's more than that talent. What you need is how to work with people. Is how to understand them, is how to bring them together. It's not so much about, yes, there's the technical aspect of buildings. Yes, there's a design aspect of buildings. But that forms a very small part when you look at the process, isn't it? The other part is people. Whether you're managing your client, whether you're managing your consultants, whether you're managing your contractors, subcontractors. And at the end, it's the people who enjoy the building. It's the joy on people's faces, right? So 2 decades ago, when the Iraq War, this is during George Bush Jr.'s time, Iraq War was, in all the newspapers and everything. Moshe Safdie was designing Institute of Peace in Washington, D.C. It's an independent institute that is designed or that works on resolving conflicts, global conflicts. I was so excited to work on the job because it was not just a building. The building had a purpose. And I thought, oh my God, this is the greatest opportunity that I could have. When I joined the office, I realized that that philosophy was not just meant for one project, but it was overall. The whole office, all projects that they were doing, they were trying to create buildings with purpose, buildings that extended beyond what the client's brief was. You take the client's brief, but you add on to that, make sure that you carve a space for the community, make sure you carve a space for the neighborhood. And I think, humanize the big mega scale projects. Integrate nature within your buildings, make sure it forms part of urban fabric. And I think all these things really resonated with me and my ideas. And I thought, wow, this is the best project I'm going to do. This is the best place I'm in. Of course, as life is, things change. The office won the competition for Marina Bay Sands. They said, okay, now you should join the Marina Bay Sands team. So me and a big team of people, we worked on the design process, and then a group of us were asked to go to Singapore for 6 months to hand over the project to the local architects. It was a transition time for our project. 6 months turned into a year, another year, and before I realized, Singapore became my professional home. And more than Marina Bay Sands, I worked on multiple projects in Singapore, basically, different challenging projects in Singapore. This is one of the pictures, one of the happy days on the project. Working on MBS, which we call MBS, not the MBS in Middle East, but MBS in Singapore. Working on Marina Bay Sands was definitely for me a very humbling experience. Because, until then I had worked on small projects, medium-sized projects, and we were on the designing side, so it's a very different thing. You come here on site and it's a very different thing. It really was, it underlined the whole principle of collaboration. It was completely, because it was a fast-moving project, it was 100% all about collaboration. We worked with hundreds of professionals, all working hard, all walking in the same direction, literally, to just contribute their excellence in getting the vision built. It was absolutely challenging time. It was stressful time. The bunch of us who were in Singapore, they are all over there, the 3-4 guys and me, we were in Singapore. We worked day and night, and I'm not exaggerating. That was the only time I really think that we really, day and night, breathing, every waking moment was about the project. Just catching up, making sure that the end product was something that we had matched our vision, because things were moving so fast. It was very, very stressful. And to relieve the stress, I took up running. And I thought maybe I'll also run the half marathon, which I did. And during that time, one day I was training. There was a young coach with a group of young athletes. And he saw me and he said, would you like to join our team? And as a test, he told me to run from one end to the finish line. And to impress him, I really ran fast to the finish line. I stood at the finish line and looked at him, really hoping that he would praise me. He came and he stood there and he said, you didn't complete. You know, it's very Singaporean, small sentence. You didn't complete. I was like, wow, you know, this is the finish line. He said, you didn't cross the line. It's incomplete till you cross the line. I was really stunned because this is such a great metaphor in life, isn't it? Life and work. You race to reach your goals, but you have to really work extra to cross the finish line. It's not just about reaching your goals. It's about completing them, fulfilling all the requirements, you know. And it's true for life. It's true for architecture. It's true for a lot of things. And I think these are some of the lessons when I talk about people. It's not necessarily professionals or big people. It's just people in everyday life that have really marked my, you know, made changes to my life or marked memories. I have memories etched in my mind about them. Working at Safdie's office was really, it helped me, it changed my career, of course, particularly working with Moshe Safdie. He's not just a boss, but he became my mentor. I learned so much from him. He's 88 years old. He's so passionate about design and architecture. I cannot tell you. I just saw him last week in Boston, and we were talking about materials, researching materials to be used for our projects. And he taught me a few things that are so amazing. He taught me not to limit myself because, you know, he told me you have to stop thinking about things. His exact words were, don't limit yourself, world will put limitations on you. I mean, my father didn't even say that to me, you know. It's one of those things. And this happened during Marina Bay Sands when I said, I do not want to work on a project which has a casino on it. And he said to me, you have to challenge me. Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. Look at the spaces you're creating. Look at the spaces you're going to create for different people, different groups. And do not get hung up on the tags that are used on it. I mean, he taught me about materials. He taught me about making of buildings. And this is something that, you know, as a mentor, I watched him. From him, I've learned how to communicate. From him, I have learned how to approach projects. As time passed by, our office has transitioned from sole leadership to a dynamic partnership, which we collaborates very closely with Moshe and on everyday basis. On working on all aspects of the work. And I think as this partnership evolved, we truly believe as partners, we truly believe that success is not about a singular contribution, but it's more about, you know, collective energy, collective synergy of all team members. And I think that has really changed the way we've been thinking about architecture, and we've been thinking about the next generation and how do we get the next generation to take over. So all those things really started falling in place. Over time, I have learned that really architecture is really not about, it's not just about buildings and making them happen. It really became, for me, it really became understanding the needs of people. Talking to people, convincing them of the vision that you have, you know, inspiring them to believe in what you're saying and making it work. It all came to that. My family's helped me throughout the years. My husband has helped me, you know, they supported me throughout the years in all ups and downs in life. And when I look back on the story of my life, I realize the fundamental truth is that because I'm a very curious person, because I am not afraid of a lot of things. I'm afraid, of course, but not a lot of things. I have been able to take steps that have been difficult, you know, in generally speaking, in terms of construction and women in construction and all that stuff. But it has worked out. It has worked out because of the people around me. And every person that I have encountered has contributed to my story in some form or the other. They have pushed me, they have, you know, inspired me, they have tried to push me to cross my limits. I mean, in everything possible way, they've tried to make me successful. And I think it really starts with that, isn't it? It starts with believing in yourself, believing in others, and being positive, no matter what news that you hear on the TV channels, you know. That's not the world. The world we believe in is about believing in yourself, is about believing in others, and still believing in human beings as they progress. And my journey has proven, really underlined the big thought, is that architecture is not just about completing a design or finishing a project, isn't it? We cannot separate ourselves from architecture. Architecture is not inseparable from life, actually. So architects and not architecture doesn't really. You're getting there, but it's still. But I truly, one of the truths that I think when I, and this is something that I've been thinking, this is just for the last 2-3 weeks I've been thinking of my life, and I think that one of the fundamental things that I truly believe is that it's so much about connections, isn't it? It's about connections, connecting people, building relationships. And I think our essence in life, there is what you said, Elora, about life and the future of life, and what you talked about, for the next generations. I think one of the things in today's day and age, with so much IT and AI and all the machinery that we're looking at, and our phones and Instagram, I think it's connecting people, not via Instagram, in real life, yeah? Connecting people, and I think that's the impact you're going to see, that we are going to make on this world. Not getting hung up on all the technology. Technology will be there, buildings will be there. We will build on rectangular sites. That's our specialty. And we will try to honor green as much as possible. We're trying to integrate greenery in our buildings. So we are doing that because we don't have space. And we are trying to see how our buildings could be green, not in the sense of green mark green where you just tick mark, but green in the sense of where people can enjoy. You have natural light, you have daylight, you have people working in offices who are disconnected with nature, bringing them together. So we are doing our best in today's world, but I think at the end of the day, it's about what impact you leave on this world is about connections, is about making real life connections with people. Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. It was beautiful. And you have mentioned about buildings with purpose. I mentioned about how important it is to convince others about the guiding principles. And I wonder which of your own skills you feel that has helped you for that, because you need to deal with it. It's a lot of collaboration, a lot of dealing with others, and a lot of trying to convince about the big picture.
Because like I said, I was the first grandchild, oldest child also. I grew up with a lot of people around me. And I think when you do that, I think when you start growing up with people around you, you somehow subconsciously develop people skills. You're able to talk to a child, or are able to talk to elders. And I think that's skills. And one thing that I forgot to really mention in my talk, which is very, very important, is that I'm an Indian-born American citizen living in Singapore, working in countries around Asia. All these mixed cultures, all these, my experience on working in these countries and my experience with different cultures has really informed me to be a citizen of the world. And I think that's the skill I think that I'm developing. And I think that's the knowledge. I'm really dedicated and committed to pass on the message to the younger generation. The same thing about people skills, because I think we don't learn that in architecture school.
And is that what you like with your mentorship to pass to your students?
I think for my students, I think the clients are still going to be human beings. You're still going to deal with human beings. And I think that now, with this instant satisfaction, instant gratification, all these things, you are not thinking long term. You're not building relationship based on that, isn't it? How many likes you get is more important than all those things. So I think people skills I really feel are important. Understanding people, empathy, all those things are very important.
But you mentioned that you have moved so much and lived in so many places that definitely helps for your empathy and for understanding of others.
Yes.
How do you pass that to someone that has not left culture or a country or a
Well, you don't really need to learn nowadays. You look around.
that's true.
The room. You're not looking at one type of people, isn't it? We're all so many different types of people. In fact, I really don't have an identity in the sense when I'm in America, they think I'm Mexican. When I'm in California, they think I'm Puerto Rican.
You speak
when
Spanish
I'm
as
in
well?
Singapore,
You speak Spanish?
a little bit. Not really. I can only speak what
Sorry, continue.
speaks. When I'm in Singapore, they think I'm Malaysian. It's like I don't have an identity. So it works for me. I could fit in anywhere.
That's good. You mentioned also that, especially for the years of the project in Singapore, when you arrived, you were working day and night. Every minute of your life was about that. Have you ever been close to a burnout?
I don't think so because I find different ways of releasing my stress. Like I
running?
took up running. I took up running then. No, but I think you know what it is that you burn out when you're working solo and you're like working without consideration of other people. Now I have a team, right? I lead a team. I am working on a very crazy project at this moment, but I make sure that my team is not working crazy hours because I've been through that. So I think I haven't. Fortunately, I haven't.
That's
feel
good.
strong that way.
You are still running?
No.
Why? What do you mean by that? You can run. Marathon?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Why not, right?
Why not?
Yeah.
That's good. Maybe one last question is regarding something that you mentioned in an interview. You mentioned that endurance is key in this profession.
Yes.
And not worrying about failure, about what the world says. So just being comfortable about how you are, the way you are, and not the need of fully following anybody. Kind of, that's what I got from an interview. I wonder if you will be able to share a story of when you needed that endurance.
Actually, I'll tell you something, nothing to do with endurance or anything, but one thing that I realized, and I think many of your architecture students or architects, is that, when we are designing as designers, right, you are in complete control. You have the drawing, you have the paper, you are carrying the design in your hand everywhere, sort of thing. Now with your laptops and everything. When you go on site, right, you are this person. And the whole thing, you're talking to hundreds of people, everything is so big. That's the first humbling experience you get. You are so little amongst everything. Now, knowing the fact that you've designed this building and nobody cares that you designed the building, except your family, you have to let go of your ego and everything. That's you have to keep on pumping energy in yourself, literally, to say, I need to keep on going because I believe in this design, I believe this is the best solution, and it needs to get built that way. That's where you cannot let yourself down. That's where you play a role of a cheerleader, and that's where you try to get your endurance and strength.
Charu, that was a beautiful talk, a very nice conversation.
Thank you.
We are going to have like a few seconds of break, and we're going to build up the roundtable discussion. But for now, thank you a lot for the beautiful talk.